I'm excited to bring you episode 2 of DriveBack, the series where we revisit the cars that made the road what it is today. And in this episode, we're taking a look at a true driver's car, one that has balanced precision, passion, and pure Honda engineering. This is a story of the Honda Prelude, a coupe that connected people to the road like few others ever could. Each generation has a car that quietly defines what it means to love driving. And for Honda, that car was the Prelude. It wasn't the most popular, it wasn't the cheapest. But for those who knew what it was, the Prelude wasn't just transportation, it was a statement. From its debut in 1978, the Honda Prelude stood as a bridge between engineering and emotion, a precision built coupe designed not for the masses, but for the few who truly felt the road. Over five generations, the Prelude evolved. It was a car that introduced technology like four-wheel steering, proved that front-wheel drive could be fun, and showed that Honda could build performance with personality. But like so many great cars, time caught up. The Prelude was discontinued in 2001, ending more than 2 decades of innovation, style, and pure driver connection. Today, we're taking a drive back to remember what made this coupe so special. Now let's take a look at the current market for the Honda Prelude. For that, we'll be using Carfax, one of the most recognized vehicle history platforms in the US. It's where buyers, sellers, and even repair professionals go to see how cars have held up over time. From service records to ownership history, Carfax gives us a clear window into how the Prelude has aged, and more importantly, how many are still on the road today. It's the perfect way to see what these cars are selling for, what kind of condition they're in, and how well this once cutting edge coupe has stood the test of time. And just a disclaimer, all Carfax footage shown here is used under fair use for educational and analytical purposes. This video isn't sponsored or affiliated with Carfax. It's purely for discussion and review. So now let's take a look at all the Honda Preludes for sale in the US. On Carfax, there's only 7 listed in the entire country, which just goes to show you how rare these cars are becoming as, years progress. So let's take a look at this 1990 Honda Prelude SI, which I believe is their sport trim, with 104,000 miles, and it's selling for around $10,000. So we can see that immediately it's an older Honda Prelude body style from 1990, and it has that suede interior, and it seems very retro on the interior, and we can see that it has a manual windows in the front passenger seat, and the interior looks like it's in very good condition. So whoever took care of this car really took good care of it, and the paint looks pretty nice. The seats look very comfortable as well, and there's no cracking on the dash. And I believe it's the original Honda equipment, the original Honda stereo, and this car seems to be fully original. And yeah, we can see 104,000 miles, which honestly isn't that much for a car from 1990. So this one, hopefully has a lot more life in it. And it has a sunroof that's pretty nice. And it has these cool headlights, the ones that pop up. These are awesome. It just reminds you of the 90s and the cars that were, designed back then. And yeah, that's the 1990 Honda Prelude, that older body style for $10,000. This one has 104,000, which is fair considering the age. So yeah, you can scoop one up for 10,000 if you want one in this body style. And let's look at this 1993 Honda Prelude SI with only 996 miles for 43,900. So this is essentially almost like a brand new car, as though you bought it from Honda in 1993. It was barely driven, and we can see that the interior is immaculate with a manual transmission, and that instrument cluster looks very cool. I like the digital sensor and the analog and all that. And yeah, it has pretty nice racing seats, and yeah, it seems to be very well taken care of throughout all these years. And yeah, that explains why this one's 43,900, because you're basically getting a collector's item with this. And I'm sure anyone who purchases it, they may not want to drive it to put on more mileage. But yeah, that's a pretty nice body style. And then here we have a 2001 Honda Prelude This is when they discontinued the Prelude, and this one is honestly my favorite body style. The interior just looks so clean. This one's automatic, and yeah, I just like the way it looks and the way it sits. Um, it has the alloy wheels that complement the paint really well. Due to age, the wheels are a bit scuffed, but that's normal at for a 24, 25-year-old car. And yeah, this one looks pretty nice. It's for 22,000 with 38,000 miles. So this one hasn't been driven much at all. And it's, a bit pricey at 22,000, but considering how rare these cars are and the mileage, yeah, that shows that the price, definitely is adjusted for that. And let's look at this 2001 Honda Prelude base, a similar one to the one we just looked at. This one's silver and seems to be in very good condition. This one's 18,000 miles. I'm sorry, $18,000 with 65,000 miles. So it's cheaper than the previous one, but it has more mileage. So let's look at it. This one has a very nice red interior. Um, it's an automatic, and yeah, I just really like the way this one sits. And just the color combination with the wheels, it just looks really really cool. And it's definitely a car that I think you can modify and it would look good. Yeah, this one seems well taken care of. The seats don't have any tears, the dashboard isn't cracked. And yeah, I mean, you can grab one of these for under 20,000 with a decent amount of miles, not too much. And let's look at one more. So let's look at this 1991 Honda Prelude SI. This one has 207,000 miles with for $9,000, and it has an accident reported. So let's take a look at this. So, this one is pretty decent on the interior. I don't see any rips or tears on the seats. The paint is a bit faded on this one, but that's as expected for a car from 1991. And it has a nice spoiler. I'm not sure if that was factory, but I believe it may be factory. It looks quite natural on the car. And yeah, we can see some clear coat fading, which, with age and time and the sunlight, would affect the paint. So yeah, and we also see some, stretching on the dashboard and bubbles. And yeah, this one, definitely lived a longer life than the other ones we looked at with 207,000 miles, but seems like it's still, pushing forward and there's some maintenance records it looks like. So, I believe the person who took care of this car really, took care of it to last 207,000 miles. And yeah, so those are the Honda Preludes for sale in the US. So now let's take a look at Copart. Copart is one of the largest online vehicle auction platforms in the world, where many of these older vehicles end up after an accident or when they're no longer roadworthy. And just a disclaimer, all Copart footage shown here is used under fair use for educational and analytical purposes. This video isn't sponsored or affiliated with Copart. It's just for discussion and review. So in the USA, there are 11 Honda Preludes on Copart. And once again, this just goes to show that this car is becoming very rare as years progress. So we'll be taking a look at these Honda Preludes and seeing how they held up. So the first one that we'll look at is a 1997 Honda Prelude with 191,000 miles, with primary damage being the rear end, with the estimated retail value of 2350. So let's take a look at the damages. So immediately we can see that, the hood and the front bumper aren't painted to match. So they were likely, replaced at some point. And yeah, we can see that the rear end took a heavy impact. We can see that dent on the upper left quarter panel and the taillight being bent. We can see also the right quarter panel. There's a dent on the upper right quarter panel, and the reinforcements completely bent, the rear body panels bent as well. And yeah, let me see if I can get a better shot of the back. Yeah, so this one took a heavy rear end impact, and Yeah, it's the entire rear end crumbled, so that it would need a new trunk, it would need a new rear bumper, reinforcement, energy absorber, and I'm not sure if the exhaust got hit, but it's very likely that the exhaust took an impact as well. And yeah, this vehicle has a lot of replacement panels with body panels that were not, fully painted, which goes to show that, it's probably been in a front end accident before. And let's see the interior. The interior is not, too bad. Definitely some wear and tear on the seats and staining, but overall it's not too bad, and it's a manual transmission. And yeah, this one would not be a good candidate to repair, just due to the estimated market value of 2350, and it being this amount of damage, it would cost more to repair than to get a replacement. So let's look at this 1999 Honda Prelude. It has 222,000 miles, and the seller is USAA Insurance. It's always good when the seller is an insurance company, because you know that it's reputable, and there's no schemes and things like that. So let's look at the photos. So this one took a front end impact. Let me see if they had a retail value. So estimated retail value is 5866. So let's say $6,000 retail, and it took a heavy front end impact with the hood being, bent and crushed, the fender, the front bumper, the reinforcement, and other internal parts in the front end. And overall, it seems like the left side is in pretty good condition. We see the fender is bent and crushed, but the door and the quarter panel seem to be in very good condition, and even the other side looks to be in good condition. So this one was a primarily a front end impact, and the we see the right fender is also damaged, and and the left headlamp. Um, but yeah, the rear end and even the interior looks pretty clean. No airbags deployed. I believe that replacement steering wheel has no. It's not the factory, so it doesn't have um any airbags equipped. So that explains why no airbags deployed on the driver. You know, airbag. And yeah, it has 200 over 200,000 miles, and at this mileage and the extent of the damage, it wouldn't be feasible to repair it. But it looks like it has many good body parts. If someone has a Prelude that needs replacement parts. So let's take a look at another one. Let's take a look at this 1995, which is a previous body style for the Prelude. And this one has 288,000 miles. It's the seller's farmer's insurance with the estimated retail value of 2441. So right away we can see that, let's say 2500, that's a very small retail cost and very high mileage. And it took a very strong front impact, similar to the previous one, from bumper, hood, some damage on the fender, left headlamp, energy absorber reinforcement, maybe radiator support and things behind, radiator condenser. Um, and we can see that the paint on this is very discolored, and the clear coat is faded. But overall, it seems to be in decent shape. There is a dent on the quarter panel, and some scrapes and things like that. So this one, wouldn't be really a contender to repair just due to the amount of damage. And yeah, I mean, this one has a front airbag deployment. This one has the original steering wheel, unlike the one we previously looked at, and also passenger airbag. So that would increase the expense to get this back on the road. And yeah, we can see that the radiator support, the fender apron, and there's some pushing back on that, and um, yeah, this would need some internal work as well. So at the actual cash value, at the estimated value of around 2500, this wouldn't be a good contender to repair. And let's look at one more that stands out. So, oh man, this one looks rough. So this one is a 1998 Honda Prelude. It's personally my favorite body style. It's a California title, non-repairable, and we'll see why it's non-repairable. This one has 299,000 miles and estimated retail of 7,300. So right away, we can see the extent of this damage. It's very heavy, a very heavy side collision, and it compromises structure of the vehicle. The roof is completely caved. The aperture is completely caved. The B pillar is completely bent. The front, wheel suspension is, shifted as well. The fender's bent. The headlamp. Just there's so much damage on this one, and it would need a lot of structural work, and it would, be deemed, as the title says, not repairable, because the amount of structural work that it would take to get this car fixed would be, very insane, and it may not be safe. This picture really shows it in it looks way worse than this picture. From this angle, we can see how bad this impact really was, and I just hope, the driver of this car and any passengers, that they're doing well, that they were not harmed. Um, we can see that the clear coat is fading on this car, and it's an overall rough shape, and yeah, this would definitely not be repaired. The front driver airbag deployed, and I hope it did its job in protecting the occupant. Um, the good sign is there wasn't any biological hazard, sticker on this car, so I'm really hoping the person, made it through. And that's it for the second episode of DriveBack. This series is all about revisiting the cars that made the road what it is today. And this is just a start. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, drop a comment, hit like, and subscribe so you don't miss the next one.